Welcome back to MVM. Today I am bringing you a preview of a new Kickstarter game called Baddass Force from Funky Sheep. Baddass Force is an 80s action movie send-up where players are going to be bluffing, loading their guns, and just blasting at each other in all-out chaotic warfare. This is a game for 3 to 7 players, and it can be classified as a party game, similar to the games like Coup or Werewolf, where you are trying to guess each other's hidden identities. In this game, you are trying to guess which action star from the 80s each player is taking control of. Now, if you see the board in front of me, it's going to look a little chaotic. We've got a 4-player game currently set up. Now, there's a few things I want to point out specifically on the board. You see the knife up here. This is the score tracker. The game is a race game to get to 17 points. The first player to achieve 17 points by eliminating other badasses is going to win the game. Right below, you have the armory. This is an equipment deck. You'll always have 3 equipment cards available to choose from. In addition, every player is going to be dealt an equipment card during the game. Now, a lot of this game revolves around using that equipment, putting bullets in that equipment, stealing from other people's equipment and things like that. So equipment is very important. You're going to be swapping your weapons out to try to get the best weapon for the situation. Now below that, you're going to have the badass pool. Now the game comes with a bunch of badasses. You're going to choose 7. In this game, we've picked Arnold, Bruce, Linda, Chuck, Steven, Sylvester, and Jean-Claude, which is kind of the suggested starting setup for the game. But we have a couple badasses that came with the base set that we don't have out there. Dolph, Sigourney, Uma, and Michelle. So, you know, we're getting into the 90s a little bit with some of these badasses, but basically you're going to choose 7 of those badasses, whichever ones you sound the most fun to play with. You're going to put 1 card out from each badass as a reminder, and then you're going to deal 1 of those badasses out to every player. So every player is going to start the game with a 7-card hand, basically. And this is going to be the same 7 badasses that you see out in front of you. Every player is going to be dealt a random weapon to start with. They're going to be dealt a dog tag and then a player order or turn order card. That's all done at the start of the game. Before the game starts, you'll notice that several of these players already have a card tucked under their player aid. You're going to take your hand of cards, you're going to shuffle them up completely randomly. You're going to take one of your badasses, in this case Jean-Claude for me, and you're going to tuck it under your card. Now, that is a badass that you're not going to have for this particular round. The reason that is so when you get down to just 1 badass, there's still a 50-50. People aren't going to be able to nail down exactly who you have left. Because like I said, this is a game about bluffing, deduction, and eliminating other people's badasses. So once you've taken one of your cards and set it aside, you're going to look at the remaining 6 cards in your hand, and you're going to choose a badass to be what's called the active badass. And this is a badass that's going to sit in front of you. So for this example, I'm going to take Arnold, and I'm going to put Arnold face down as my active badass. Now, I know I have Arnold, but no one else at the table knows that I'm putting Arnold into play. And you'll notice every player at the table has their own face down badass. It's going to be one of these 7. Nobody really has any information at the start of the game to deduce kind of who is who. So you're going to randomly choose a first player. You could choose the player who is the most badass. I think that's a good way to do it. You're going to choose a starting player. Everyone starts off the scoreboard here. You're going to be earning points, but we kind of have a game already in progress. You're going to take your ammo marker and you're going to put it on the 0 space. Some of these weapons are kind of fast loading, like the machine gun pistol starts with 1 ammo. The combat knife starts with 1 ammo. You just have to accept the fact that you're putting ammunition into a knife. It is an 80s movie after all. So you're going to start with that. You're going to start with your cards, choose your first player, and then you're ready to go. On your turn, a few things are going to happen. First of all, you're always going to gain ammunition. You're going to gain 1 ammo every round, unless you are in revenge mode, in which case you'll gain 2. We'll talk about revenge mode in a minute. But you always gain 1 ammo, and then you get to take an action. And you're going to be able to choose from several actions here. The first action is to change your badass. Maybe you think people are starting to guess who your badass is, or maybe you want to set up a new badass to use a different power. but if you do, you can take your badass back in your hand, for example, Arnold now, and I can swap it out with any of my surviving badasses. I can even put Arnold actually back into play, kind of a double bluff there. They think maybe I removed him, but I'm really putting him back into play. You can change your weapon. So if this weapon, some of the weapons are harder than others. Some, like the grenade, will explode if they're loaded up too far. So there are definitely instances where you might want to change your weapon. Maybe a new weapon came out on the armory that's much better. In that case, you take whatever weapon is in front of you, you discard it. So I'd lose whatever ammunition was on there. I take my weapon and discard it. I choose from one of these weapons available. Maybe I want the flamethrower. And then a new weapon is revealed to replace the one I just took. So I start with 0 ammo. Now I have to earn my ammo all the way over again. But these weapons are going to be very useful. So choosing the right weapon, choosing when to load it up with ammo is very important. The next thing you can do is try to load your gun. Now, you've got these 2 dice in the game, and each one of these dice has 3 sides. A green side, a yellow side, and a red side. Here's where a little bit of randomness comes into the game. You're going to roll these 2 dice, and you're going to look at the result. For every green result you roll, you gain an ammo. So in this instance, I'd put 2 ammunition into that flamethrower. If I'd rolled a yellow, every player gains an ammunition. So not just you, but everyone at that table is going to tick their ammunition up. Now, you can try to time this. Some of the weapons I said earlier, like the grenade and the flamethrower, will explode if they have too much ammo. So you can actually like force people to take ammo, force their weapons to explode. If you roll the red symbol, everyone but you gets an ammunition. So you're penalized for that. If you roll 2 reds, your weapon breaks, you discard it and take a new weapon just like as if you used that change weapon action. The next thing you can do on your turn is actually use your weapon. So as long as your weapon has reached the point where it's glowing, which means it's fully loaded, you can use that weapon. Generally, a weapon is going to tell you how to use it. Some, like the combat knife, let you eliminate either one of your neighbors. Some, like the handgun, let you shoot anyone at the table. Some, like this flamethrower, have special abilities. The grenade has special abilities. The bazooka lets you kill multiple people. So every weapon kind of has their own flavor, and it feels very thematic to what you're trying to do. So once your weapon is fully loaded, you can use it and eliminate someone. You point to one of the players at the table, as long as it's within the range of the weapon you're using, and you choose to eliminate them. For example, I can choose the green player here, eliminate their badass. They reveal what badass they were. For example, Sylvester here. This character is now eliminated. It's removed from the game. Every time you eliminate a hero on your turn, you gain 2 victory points. So in this case, red would go up 2 points on the track. If I had used something like the bazooka or the grenade, which can eliminate multiple players in one round, you get 2 points for the first player you eliminate, and then 1 point for every player after that. So if I had killed green, black, and blue, I would have gained 4 points. And as you see, it's a race to get to 17, so 4 points is a big chunk of that. Stopping people from being able to use their weapons is very key. If you see somebody getting really close to being able to use their weapon, you might want to stop them from using it. So you get those 4 victory points. And also you check on the score marker here. If you eliminate a player that's in the lead, so for example, if I had eliminated blue, who was in the lead at the time, I would have gained an extra victory point. So the game encourages you to hunt down the players who are in the lead, try to eliminate their badasses and things like that. You're going to lose your badasses in a variety of ways. Being eliminated by a weapon is one of them. The next action you could take can also lead to you losing your badass, and that is actually using the action of your badass. Now, this is where the game becomes kind of a bluffing deceit game. You're going to claim that you have a badass in front of you. You're going to be able to look at all these different badasses, and you kind of know what their abilities are, for example. Now, they all have a regular ability in red, and then a revenge ability in yellow. And we'll talk about revenge mode in a second. But you can claim to have any of those badasses. Like I said earlier, I put Arnold down in front of me. No one knows that. So I could say, I have Sylvester in front of me. I'm going to gain 2 bullets into my gun. Now, every other player can kind of deduce, maybe, do they think I have Sylvester? Do I not? Maybe I claim to use Steven's power last turn and Bruce's power the turn before. I'm obviously not all 3. I was lying about one of them. So anybody at the table can choose to challenge me. So, for example, green player can say, I don't think you're correct. So I'd force the reveal. Now I have Arnold. I said I had Sylvester. I have Arnold. Arnold's cover has been blown. He is eliminated. I lose this hero. Green gains 2 points. Now, since I am the leader, green actually gains an additional point. So there is a benefit in calling out people when you think they are bluffing, especially when they're the leader. People are going to want to use the actions on these cards. And like I said, every one of these badasses has their own unique action. Some let you use other players' weapons. Some steal bullets. Some flat out can eliminate other players. So you want to use the action that best suits you, but you didn't always have that badass ready to go, which is why you can use that badass change out action to set up for a future turn, or you could just take a gamble and make a guess. Now, let's go back and pretend like I had claimed that I had Arnold. So I wanted to use Arnold's ability. Any player, again, can challenge. Green can challenge, black can challenge, anyone can challenge and say, I don't believe you. In which case, I reveal I do have Arnold. So a couple of things happen there. For one, the player that challenged me looks at their hand, takes their hand, and randomly discards another hero. That hero is eliminated. So in this case, red would get 2 more points for eliminating a hero. Arnold's ability still goes off, so I get to kill the attacker instead of me, so I kill someone else. I could gain 2 more points. And then, since Arnold was revealed, he comes back to my hand, and I get to choose a new hero to put out in place. Now, I get to do all that just because I was falsely accused, and I gained a ton of points from being falsely accused. So that bluff and action, like it's hugely powerful. You want players to call you out and be wrong, so you kind of want to mislead them. A lot of the strategy of this game boils down to people shouting out accusations across the table. You really want people to believe that that you're lying, actually. So it kind of goes both ways. You don't want to be caught when you are lying, but you do want to be called out when you're telling the truth. So these badasses are going to be getting eliminated all the time. Every time your badass is eliminated, you take another one from your hand and you put that out in front of you, and now you have a new active badass for the next round. Eventually, you're going to reach a point where all of your badasses are dead. So like I said, you're going to have 6 because your 7th one is hidden. But when all 6 of those badasses are in the discard pile, you're not out of the game. You now go into revenge mode. You take your dog tag, you flip it over to the other side, and you'll notice that symbol there. You are now in revenge mode. You take your hidden hero, hidden badass back into your hand. You shuffle them all randomly, and now you're going to remove another one, just like at the start of the game. So I lose Steven here. Steven tucks back under my card. I choose a new active badass. I'm back in the game. Now, once one player reaches that revenge mode, everybody who's not in revenge mode is going to get a free point for not being in revenge mode. So red gets 2 bullets a turn, and I get to use the revenge mode ability of my hero as well. So I don't get those free points, but I do get better abilities. So you kind of want to actually get into revenge mode towards the end of the game. This encourages you to take more risks. Don't play it too safe. Let your badasses get eliminated, because once you're in revenge mode, you're going to be accessing those awesome abilities. And then every time you get eliminated again after that, it's the same thing happens. So if I was to lose all my badasses again, I scoop up and start over. So no player is ever eliminated. But keep in mind, there is only 17 points to be scored. So if all your badasses are getting eliminated like that, someone is climbing up that score chart. Once you reach 17 points, that triggers the end of the game, and that player wins, and they've eliminated the badasses. So it only takes about 45 minutes to play. And like I said, it is a social deduction, bluffing kind of game, but without any player elimination. You're going to be shooting and blasting and blowing up these badasses left and right. You're going to be calling bluffs. You're going to be getting called out. There's a lot that happens. The gameplay is very fast-paced. And like I said, it does definitely feel like you are part of like an 80s action movie going on with all of these characterizations of famous 80s action stars. So that is Baddass Force. The game is on Kickstarter right now. If you'd like to, please take a look at their Kickstarter page. They probably have more badasses and more cool things being unlocked via stretch goals. So take a look at that, come back here, leave some comments, ask questions. I'll be sure to answer them. As always, thank you for watching and following, and I will see you next time.